Heath.
Tom,
There's my guy.
There's my guy. Hey, buddy, I got you a present.
Get out of here. I got you a present.
What?
Hey, guys. Hey.
Cecil.
Hey,
How you
buddy.
doing?
Hey, hold on a second. I got you guys some gifts. Let me get them out of the bag.
No way.
This is crazy.
We
I
did
love
that
it.
too.
Wait. We all got each other gifts for no reason this week? Like, no reason.
Yeah, I think we did.
I just want to say how much I appreciate you guys. You know, I mean, there's just nothing. It's just you guys. You know?
Is this about this week's episode?
What? I don't.
What?
Just
no.
regular gift.
No.
This week's subject, James Hogue, who was famously exposed as a fraud who didn't belong in the schools he was in. Maybe gotten all of us sort of feeling a little underqualified, you know?
Oh. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Look, guys, here. James has a fascinating story, and yeah, maybe it makes us reflect a bit on how lucky we've been, but we're not frauds. We don't need to be worried that we don't belong. We all deserve to be here.
Yeah, okay.
I just love you guys so much.
I love you too. What's up, knucklefuckers? That's right. Heart and Soul of the podcast is here. You're welcome. I'm going to take a shit, and then let's capture some more of my genius on the digital record for eternity, huh? Try to keep up this week, okay? Looking at you, bitch tits. Huh?
Well, almost all of us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that tracks. He calls me bitch tits. I got some great mustard jokes this week.
No, you don't.
They're jokes about mustard.
You don't.
You're the worst. Hello and welcome to Citation Needed, a podcast where we choose a subject, read a single article about it on Wikipedia, and pretend we're experts. Because this is the internet, and that's how it works now. I'm Heath, and I'll be walking the show about the sport of running. And joined by three guys who are not making the track team without lots of help from William H. Macy and Aunt Becky in Photoshop, Eli, Cecil, and Tom.
Okay, joke's on you, Heath. I was on the track team in middle school, 1986, for one season.
Field? You were field?
One season.
Yeah. I watched a track meet once, so yeah, I get it.
And I didn't understand anything about that intro. I'm Tom. Hello.
Operation Varsity
William
Blues,
H.
they cheated
Macy?
to get their kids.
Mystery Men? Read a book.
Lori Loughlin, she's in jail. Maybe still.
She's fine now. They let her out.
Tom, let's get into it, I guess. What person, place, thing, concept, phenomenon, or event are we going to be talking about today?
Today, I'm going to tell you guys the story of James Hogue.
Fantastic. And are you ready to do the podcast?
I am. And unlike our hero in this story, I'm not lying when I say that I am.
Excellent. So how did you pick James Hogue as the topic?
All right. Well, if there's any myth as powerfully American as that of the self-made man, I don't know what it could possibly be. We love this idea. We celebrate it. We fetishize it. We legislate based on it. And in many important ways, we demand it. Our national heroes may have different stories, but most of them share one common thread: that the success of any great man or woman is owed not to their circumstances, but to their self-invention.
Liars. No, that's not what they ever do. Whatever. No, I got lucky.
This idea, though, pervades nearly every aspect of American media and culture. And for James Hogue, this very American idea of the birth of the self from nothing was seized upon time and again. This is a story of a thief and a con man, to be sure, but it's impossible not to see in this story the inevitable result of our national obsession with the idea that who we are can be very literally invented out of whole cloth. That success in America is born from the success of our story as much or more than the truth of our actions. This is the story of James Hogue, but it is also the story of the internalization and institutional deference to this ridiculous myth that makes this story possible.
Okay, new idea for this year's April Fool's Day episode. The whole show is just a Tom essay intro, and then he's like, I don't know, some guy.
I love
Some
it.
guy.
Yes.
Just write 10
that's
pages
amazing.
and then never introduce the character. That's it.
I don't know. He lied about some colleges. Burp, 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 burp.
The early life of James Hogue appears from every report and article that I read to be wholly unremarkable. He was born in 1959 in Kansas City, Kansas, to a stay-at-home mom and a father who was a railroad worker. James's history and connection with his parents and his sisters seems not to have been overly close, nor was it tumultuous. He began running cross-country in junior high, and he quickly excelled. When he began running in high school, the students in coaching was significantly more competitive, and James quickly adjusted and excelled there as well, though he was not without his quirks. When he won a race, he would run immediately out to his father's car, where he would change out of his running clothes and into neatly laundered slacks and a dress shirt before returning to the podium to accept his medal.
It was to hide his boner, wasn't it? That sounds like hiding a boner to me.
Yeah, you can hide a boner in dress slacks really well.
He's awkwardly holding his trophy over the center of his body there, just really weirdly holding his trophy.
Accidentally lets go of both handles at one point. Shit!
After high school, James enrolled in the fall of 1977 as a freshman at the University of Wyoming, clearly hoping to make a name for himself as a runner. And for its part, the University of Wyoming was also hoping to establish itself as a premier university for competitive distance running, a fact which seems in keeping with both the expansive emptiness of Wyoming and the understandable desire to run away
Is
from.
that something you can be a premier university at? Distance running?
Hey, this is America. We can compete in eating hot dogs at a high level.
At the collegiate level? Some fat guy sitting in the cafeteria of Harvard. Oh, we all know why he's here. We all know why he's here.
Now, to secure their position as a serious school churning out serious athletes, the University of Wyoming hired a new running coach that same year. A complete fucking sadist named Ron Richardson. Ron's office was, no shit, a little shack thingy underneath the actual bleachers by the track. From that office, Richardson leafed through his dog-eared and beloved book about the management techniques of Genghis Khan.
Okay.
And from there developed his training protocols.
His training protocols? Was it running mostly? He would run. He would tell them to run faster if possible. It's not the fucking art of war to be a track coach. You say run faster. Oh, he had interval training. He's fucking genius. Get out of here. Run. You tell him to run.
Guys, it's not Genghis Khan. It's Genghis Khan. Come on, you can do it.
So one of Ron's beliefs, and I love this, was that if runners were somehow able to run faster than they would ordinarily be able to, their bodies would create and then retain the muscle memory of moving at greater and greater speeds.
Okay.
What?
Yeah, I know. So Ron's notion then was to attach a belt to his runners along with a length of rope.
Airplane.
And then affix...
Say
They put him on
airplane.
an airplane, right? I've been on an airplane. My muscle memory isn't like I go 500 miles an hour when I feel like that.
Well, if you ran behind the airplane. So then he would affix the other end of the rope and thus affix the runner.
If you flap your arms, do you fly if you're behind the because you never
You
had
just got to
that
get the muscle memory
Yeah,
of
the
being weightless.
muscle
compared to the-
memory
yeah.
once you get it in
That's
there.
actually at University of Kitty Hawk.
Yeah.
It's a little
Drag
bit.
lift.
So they attached the runner to the car with a length of rope and a belt, and he would then drive and then kind of tow drag and pull his runners up and down these high altitude trails. And they were simultaneously pulled and dragged, but they were racing to keep up, pumping their legs faster than they would be able to run not affixed to a car. When his runners once lost a meet to BYU, he picked them all up in the morning, drove them 17 miles from campus, and told them to run home.
Fired them out of a cannon.
A typical workout for Richardson's runners might include 32 220-meter sprints, 16 quarter-mile runs, and 8 half-mile runs. And still, for all of this madness, James was not only game for the challenge, he was in many ways living for it.
Dragging him behind his car. Is that the Griswold School of Training? They also had to square off like an animatronic moose at a certain point.
Coaches are interesting. There's no way to tell who's a sadistic murderer and who's creating legendary athletes until someone dies.
Right?
That's the moment you know.
And still, sometimes you don't know at that point.
Yeah,
Sometimes
no.
it's both.
Sure.
It can be
Jerry
both.
Nadler.
Whiplash.
Try
Great
as he
teacher.
might, Coach Richardson was unable to mold these fresh-faced young men into the running machines that he needed to separate the University of Wyoming from the rest of the collegiate pack. Distance running is actually not best accomplished by men just beginning their foray into adulthood. The peak for a distance runner is the mid to late 20s. It's at this point that not only has the body matured into its peak physical condition, but the mind too has reached a level of maturity and experience that allows it to endure the pain of pushing the body long past sensible and safe levels. So trying to train kids to push themselves into these deep, almost meditative spaces where they run harder and faster than their bodies really should is actually fantastically difficult. Halfway through his first year as coach, Richardson solved for this problem by importing a collection of world-class runners from Kenya, including a future Olympian. These men, all in their mid-20s, quickly dominated meet after meet as their older, stronger bodies and minds left the young men they competed against, including teammate James Hogue, far behind.
He builds a wall to stop the immigrants from coming from Kenya, and they jump it like it's a hurdle. Right over.
James, who had up until now differentiated himself from his classmates as a star runner since junior high, found himself not only losing races, but also refusing to give up. As classmate after classmate ceded the field to the older dominant athletes, James refused to give in. He began training in more and more extreme conditions, running in snowy weather along the freeway in construction boots. His younger, less matured and experienced body began to break down, and he suffered several injuries, none of which sidelined his training. When he could no longer stand the beating of traditional running, he began running in the pool, grunting and struggling against the implacable watery resistance, alone and boundlessly determined.
Yeah. Say what you will about people who quit when they obviously should, being happier, healthier people, but they don't get their own citation needed essays, right?
Also, they're liars. They're not happy. Whatever.
Yeah.
They're not happy.
They are, though. They are.
Are they?
It's
People
just
who
the
don't
thing
win.
they used
People who
to
don't
do.
win are really happy. They're really happy about that.
Yeah, because they quit. Rudy is about a person who should have quit in his first year. Oh, I'm not in football anymore. I'll start a band. I'm Rudy.
I'm going to NYU theater school.
Exactly. Maybe Rudy was a great actor. The only thing we know about Rudy is he was bad at football and should have quit.
I feel like he wasn't super happy. Whatever. No.
Still, for all of his efforts, and by all accounts they were fierce, none of the original track mates, including James, was able to compete meaningfully again in the program. It was at this point that things began to change, not just for James, but it seems within him. The next year, when a friend visited James at his room in Laramie, he noticed his room full of bike and stereo parts. This is the first sign of a new James, a James no less obsessive and peculiar, but certainly one whose moral compass began to spin wild. In 1979, James left the University of Wyoming without finishing his studies and moved to Texas. There, he enrolled in a local community college before transferring to the University of Texas at Austin, where he pursued a degree in chemical engineering. He dropped out a few credits shy of earning his degree. He was arrested for the first time at that point for possession of stolen goods.
Can I help you, officer? What, this bag of stolen money? Oh, that must have gotten caught on my bootstrap. I'm sorry. It get things. It grabs
Would you
things.
believe that I need this sack of gold bars for my track training regimen? So I'm I'm in a pool, right? I'm in a pool.
You need the muscle memory of drowning? I don't know.
The muscle memory of being rich. Look at all the money I have in my hands now.
Now we're going to flash forward a couple of years here to 1985. James Hogue was struggling. Adrift from his family, not a terrifically socially connected person, and bereft of anything substantive to dream about after his failures in college, James decided he needed a fresh start. To write his story anew, begin a new chapter. So, at the age of 26, he walked up to the front doors of the Palo Alto High School and enrolled in that school as 17-year-old orphan Jay Huntsman.
Hey, do you guys do mulligans here at this high school? I'd like a mulligan. Can I get in on that?
Now, Jay Huntsman wasn't just a name that James dreamed up. Jay Huntsman was a real name, and that guy had a real birth certificate, which is how James was able to claim his identity. Problem was that in addition to having a birth certificate, the real James Huntsman also had a death certificate, dated only 2 days from that of the birth certificate. No matter, this was the 80s, so the majority of all important records were stored on paper, and the world was basically a nuclear powder keg improbably operating on the honor system. As an experienced 26-year-old athlete, James Hogue, running and living and attending high school as Jay Huntsman, was straight crushing it. Just as he was unable to compete with the older, more powerful Kenyans when he was but a fresh-faced teen, so too were the high school kids unable to compete with James.
I love that if I did this, I'd still fail. I'd
Yeah,
still
I know,
not
right?
be like
Me
a
too.
soccer player.
So
Me too.
bad.
You get crushed
So
by
bad.
these kids.
They have to start calling leagues Pee-wee before we're winning again.
Yeah.
We couldn't field a decent T-ball team.
No.
That's a fair truth. At the Stanford Invitational Cross Country Meet in 1985, James easily won it, clocking the best time by far that race had ever seen.
21 Long Jump Street. That's a track joke.
He's back in high school. It's the plot of that.
So despite his record time, high school track star Jay Huntsman didn't approach the judges' table to claim his medal or trophy or wreath of roses or whatever prize you get for being fast for a long time. This unusual refusal to accept awards and attention struck a reporter watching the Invitational as rather unlike the typical behavior for high school athletes. And so he began to investigate the mystery orphan who showed up unannounced to enroll himself in high school one day.
Sorry, guys, I'd take your trophy, but I left my slacks at home. You see my dilemma? I just can't just come up and just
Yeah, man, we
take.
can see your boner. We can see
Okay.
it. Yeah.
I knew it.
Now, James's cover was quickly blown, and he was confronted, whereupon he quickly admitted his deception and left Palo Alto High School. From there, he was briefly in trouble with the law for a check forgery charge, and James left California for Colorado. Here, he claimed to have a doctorate from Stanford and that he was a faculty at the university. This lie enabled him to secure a position at a sports training camp in Vail as a trainer, spending his days working alongside actual professionals and world-class athletes, including Olympian marathoner Frank Shorter.
Does Stanford not have a phone number at this point in the 80s? What's happening?
Checking records would have solved a lot of these problems, Heath.
Okay.
For his part, James's training recommendations and behaviors were somewhat unorthodox. James drank and recommended fueling up with a mixture of mustard and Perrier during his races.
Okay.
I can't imagine how bad that would be.
Mustard.
After mustard and bubbly water. Fuck.
I like mustard and Perrier, but
Yeah, that's not a peanut butter and chocolate moment. It's not. After crossing the finish line, rather than run out to his dad's car to get some clean clothes, James now just immediately lit up a celebratory cigarette.
What now?
And he's as a trainer for other athletes.
That's amazing.
And he also didn't seem...
We're the same age. Fuck yeah, college.
And if you got one of those long rubber bands, I want to shoot up with heroin real quick.
I love being 21.
And he also didn't seem to have any place to live.
Oh.
Sleeping often in the parking lot of the facility in his truck. In short, his behavior didn't precisely match that which you might expect from someone with a PhD in sports stuff from Stanford.
Yeah, but with those kind of accommodations, he'd have been more likely been like a public school teacher than Stanford PhD.
Also, Tom, if
They
we're
can't afford Perrier.
Tom, if we're doing citation needed essays on people who failed at their dreams and then lied their way into a better job while still obviously being mentally ill, I would like to call dibs on me. Just no one else is allowed to do me. I'm saying that now.
All right, so his trainer gig was eventually cut short when he was discovered as a fraud there as well. The facility owner received a tip that Stanford didn't employ anyone named James Hogue and never had. The owner confronted James on his deception, was shocked at his response. James didn't deny the lie, but he also didn't seem at all upset or fazed by having been found out. He simply shrugged and moved on. This time not back to high school, though. James Hogue had set his sights on loftier goals.
all right. Well, it looks like James is about to dominate a ball pit at McDonald's. But first, we're going to take a quick break for some apropos of nothing.
Okay, everyone, really excited to introduce you all to the new coach this year. He comes from the Harvard School of Stanford. What? Wait, that can't be right. Huh? Anyway, he has a doctorate in running and jumping. I guess they have those. So everyone give a big welcome to Coach Hogue. I said a big welcome to Coach Hogue.
Well, I'm not loitering. I'm picking up my daughter. That's why I'm here.
Coach. This is the team. The team.
What?
For you to train, you have to train them. That's
Yep. What up? Hey, fellow youths. We're all youths. How's it going? I'm your new coach. What did I say my name was?
James Hogue.
James Hogue. Nice. Easy to remember this time. Yep, that's me. And this year, we're going to take it to the top. You can run fast. You drink mustard. You tie yourself to ski lift. Sing the name of everyone you ever fucked. Right during that, you sing it. But by the end of it, you're going to be the best damn tennis players this middle school's ever seen.
Coach?
Yeah, Red. You're Red. I'm calling you Red. What up, Red?
This is a college track
What do you
team.
want?
And did you say something about tying us to a ski lift?
I don't know. Did I say that?
Yeah, you did. You did say that.
Yeah, you very much did. I heard you
Good.
say that.
Good. I meant to say that. That was my first test. Guess what? You passed. Now I'm going to pretend to fall asleep. But first one of you back here with bacon, egg, and cheese is my favorite. 3, 2, 1, go.
I quit the team.
Yeah, me too.
I kind of like him. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Give me that sandwich. And we're back. When we left off, James Hogue was setting up another Adam Sandler movie premise, I think, to be his new life. What's next?
All right, James Hogue was again without home and without vocation, and he again set about solving that problem by simply starting over. Re-entering the world and reinventing himself as a high school athlete hadn't worked, but perhaps he had just set the flux capacitor a touch too far back. What if, instead of restarting his life as a high school student with a bullshit backstory, he reset himself back to college, not as a returning adult student and not as James Hogue, but as Alexi Santana.
What?
Flamenco dancer.
Just as
That's the
believable.
worst name.
That's amazing. He actually picked that name. I didn't put it in here. He actually picked that name. It's like the first name of some bicycle brand and the last name of some famous runner.
So it's
He just was
it's
looking
like a
at stuff,
Facebook
basically.
porn name. It's like yeah.
Right. It'd be like me looking around and being like, my new name is Zoom Mixer.
Perrier
Because
mustard.
I saw those things.
Window of porn, sad photos of my dead dad. I was playing too.
Jesus Christ.
What happened next to the essay, Tom? Fuck.
And James, or Alexi, wasn't to be placated with a fresh start from just any old school. For Alexi, it was the Ivy League or bust, Princeton in particular. To understand how this next part of the story could even happen, you have to understand something about Princeton and how Princeton operates versus how Princeton wanted to portray itself. In 1992, 14,000 students applied to Princeton to try to secure one of only 1,200 available spots. This makes Princeton one of the most selective schools in the country, to be sure, but even that 1,200 is a bit of a bullshit number. See, Princeton doesn't just take the 14,000 applications, apply like a predetermined and impartial rubric to each application, then sort the spreadsheet and pick the top 1,200 names. Instead, Princeton gives weight to legacy applicants. Fully 20% of their incoming freshman class were kids whose parents went to Princeton, even though those students often had lower overall SAT scores than the rest of the student body. Most of all the kids that would be accepted at Princeton in any given year came not from diverse backgrounds, but from fairly uniformly rich backgrounds. Princeton was, and likely still is, an institution that perpetuates wealth from wealth, class from class, and power from power.
Okay, but I mean, we all got into college because our mom knew a professor at the school and they gave us a private interview the year before we applied, right? Like we all...
No, that's
I don't
not
think that
how I got
happened
to
with my
college.
mom.
No, absolutely did not happen.
Yeah, me neither. I was just wondering. Yeah, it's a
that was-
hypothetical.
it's none of us.
Yeah, it's
This
just
is-
none of us.
okay.
It was none
Okay.
of us.
Really specific hypothetical. Go ahead.
It's important, though.
However, the story that Princeton tells itself, and indeed the story that Princeton tells the world, is different. When interviewed about who the ideal applicant to Princeton would be, the admissions director said, Huck Finn.
Fuck you. Get out
Yeah,
of
I
here.
know. This answer was notable because it revealed that Princeton believed, at least narratively, if not numerically, that the ideal candidate for Princeton wasn't the clean-cut Tom Sawyer, but rather the raggedy yet determined self-made man.
So stupid.
So fucking stupid.
Huck Finn.
They wanted to be the
Huck Finn.
Self-made man.
Yeah. Typical self-made adult man, Huck Finn.
They wanted to be the institution that accepted the boy who learned about the world floating down the river, taking life on its own terms. At least that's
not
the
how
way they were
rivers
selling
even
it.
work.
not
It's such a
what
bad
happened in the
analogy.
book. Didn't learn about things. It's fine. It's fine.
The reality was that if you actually looked at who they accepted and broke it down demographically, Princeton was admitting a hell of a lot more Tom Sawyers with trust funds than they were Huck Finns. Oh, and they also disproportionately favored students from schools in Nevada, Montana, and Wyoming when they were done filling their legacy spots, of course, because, no shit, they could be well assured that those students would be white, but would not, in fact, be Jewish.
Wow.
Lovely.
Someone from New Jersey preferred people who dropped N-bombs and wasn't a Jew. This is the least surprising part of the story.
Yeah.
So, by the way, you know who else was at Princeton in 1992 besides Huck fucking Finn, apparently? You know who else was there? Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz was who they wanted at Princeton.
sorry.
Literally, class of 92.
I just feel like they really need to reread Huck Finn. Right?
Thank you.
It's like saying, right here, we want crime-solving detectives for our law school, like Scout from To Kill a Mockingbird. No, she did great, right?
Boo Radley? I don't know. We're bad at books.
James Hogue knew all of this, and so he carefully crafted his new persona, Alexi Santana. Alexi was a self-made man from Wyoming. He hadn't gone to high school like the fat cat kids. Alexi had grown up living and working on the Lazy T Ranch in Wyoming, roaming the 1,000 miles of open country with his horse, Good Enough, as
What?
his sole companion.
Sounds like a bunch of made-up details, like such clear
stupid.
lies in that one sentence.
There, under the stars, Alexi taught himself reading Plato by the light of the campfire. This
What?
is real shit he wrote.
Shut the fuck
And of
up.
course, eventually taking up running as a way to pass the time. Princeton, for their part, they were primed in every way to believe this story. And as bonkers as it was, it solved the problem of not having any transcripts. James, as Alexi Santana, took the SATs, and admittedly, he scored a 1430.
Wow.
Which is more than high enough to qualify for any school, and he sent in his application.
Okay, but we all cheated on the SATs, though, right? We all did that?
No,
man.
I did not. No.
Me neither. Again, not. I also didn't. No.
Stop confessing to somehow being less likable than you already are, Eli.
You stop. You are. Stop it.
Reporting this to the ETS.
Don't you call them.
So
Aren't you
Princeton
a
jumped all
professor
over.
at NYU? Technically,
This is why you don't call them. This is why. You shush.
So Princeton jumped all over this application. Everything about the story of Alexi Santana was everything they needed. Here was a student who fit their bullshit story, a student who could act as a token to principles that would allow them to maintain the fiction of their meritocracy. Alexi was swiftly flown to Princeton to tour the school and, of course, to meet the running coach, a man named Larry Ellis.
Larry, this is Alexi. His dad is a lion and he lives in a wardrobe.
And he plays real water polo. This is him on a horse next to the water polo. Okay. I realized if we should have done polo, it was already a horse. We should have just done polo. Real polo. Picture.
Now, he yelled Marco before, so
Can I
that's how you know he's
bribe you?
legit.
Do you just do bribe,
Yeah.
regular bribe?
Just do
I feel like this
regular.
is going badly.
Larry was a little skeptical about the story. Here's some kid from out of nowhere, his father dead, his mother a European artist, him self-taught, not just as an outstanding student with impressive SAT scores, but also self-coached as a runner. I mean, if this was true, this would be one of the most remarkable stories ever told, and he would have a hell of an honor in coaching this kid.
Okay, but self-coached as a runner. I run. I coach myself to run. I'm an autodidactic runner. That's nothing.
Now, Larry asked a senior member of the track team to meet with Alexi and run with him, instructing him, quote, I want you to run as hard as you possibly can every day the entire time he's here. And I want you to come back Monday and report to me exactly what you think.
Okay, coach, I'm back. So you know mustard, the condiment?
Alexei could not be beaten. Reporting back about Alexei, the student recalled, quote, I couldn't crop him. Couldn't really even tire him out. The guy's for real, end quote. Impressed by his scores, his story, and his running ability, Princeton accepted Alexei Santana to its freshman class and offered him an extremely generous $22,000 scholarship. James Hogue had just reinvented himself again. Except one minor problem. Soon after receiving his acceptance letter and scholarship offer, James was arrested. Before inventing the character of Alexei Santana, James Hogue had been working for a time for a bicycle builder named Dave Tesh. Dave Tesh built custom bicycles. When you bought one, it was a Tesh bike. Tesh's stuff said, Tesh, right on it. This will be important. One fine day, Dave arrived at his shop to discover that someone had broken in and stolen about $20,000 worth of bikes and parts and tools. Since the custom bike market in California was, at that time, I guess, extremely small and even more competitive, Dave and the police figured that the robbery had been committed by a rival bike shop owner.
Yeah, man. Shady bike shops always trying to peddle stolen goods. Peddle. Peddles. Spelled differently.
It was actually very good.
Pedal.
But it wasn't a rival bike shop owner. As you might surmise, the thief was James, and he was eventually suspected because he openly used tools that had the name Tesh written on the goddamn tools, causing someone familiar with the robbery to report him. This led the police to a storage locker, which, when they opened it, was not only full of all of Dave Tesh's shit, but also had clearly been someone's home. It was James's home.
I've been inside Heath's crazy undecorated single guy apartment. I get it.
Okay, it's decorated. I have chairs, for example.
Did they come with the place, though?
It's irrelevant whether I have chairs is the point. There's chairs.
Currently
it's
chairs.
decorated.
Heath, do they fold
seating
or are
objects.
they always chairs?
You could.
Are they Transformer chairs? Because those don't count as chairs.
There's bag. It doesn't. You wouldn't say you fold a bean bag. That doesn't make sense. It's not. That wouldn't be the word for that. Stupid. Doesn't even make sense what you said.
But the locker also contained a bunch of weird shit that made the detective working the case curious. Among the stolen goods and sleeping bag were a series of trophies and doctored newspaper clippings, all the necessary rudiments that James had been using to fabricate the backstory for Alexei Santana. And it was also obvious that James had been using this fake identity to apply not just to Princeton, but also to Stanford and Brown. The detective who worked the stolen goods case and who found the evidence of the created identity did not, it appears, alert the folks at Princeton.
Good. Fuck Princeton. I'm glad they didn't get told about that. They should be able to figure that shit out. That was obvious.
Make a call, assholes.
You got like an $8 jillion endowment. You can't make 2 phone calls. Fuck you.
Hey, do you have an artist there in Europe?
Yeah. Fire your fucking registrar, man. What the fuck?
But James ended up pleading guilty to theft and was sentenced to 1 to 5 years in prison, a sentence which would be a total bummer since he had, if you'll recall, just been accepted to Princeton as Alexei Santana. No trouble. James simply requested a deferred admission to Princeton. His mother, you see, ailing European artist, was dying in Switzerland and he needed to be at her side.
Feels like an obvious
University, eager to keep their cross-country cowboy scholar, happily allowed the deferment.
Yeah, my mom's like really sick. She's going to be sick for like 1 to 5 years. So
unless I behave.
Yeah, I was going to say, good news. She might die early for good behavior. So, yeah.
And listen, guys, thank you for the deferment. I will be wearing Princeton orange the whole time to stay ready. Loyalty. The tiger. Orange.
So James served his year and upon his release made his way very happily to his new digs at Princeton. While at Princeton, he ran for the track team, of course, but he actually sustained an injury fairly early on and ended up being, for the second time in his college running career, nothing to really get excited about. Still, he made the best of his time since his backstory made no fucking
never
sense.
Exciting. Sorry. The sport of running, it doesn't matter how good you get out of here. None of this is it's the most boring possible sport. It's a subset of other sports, really.
He did make the best use of his time since his backstory made no sense he adopted a studiously aloof and taciturn persona among his classmates, neither friendly nor particularly ornery. He was quiet and mysterious, and rumors about who he was circulated with no real help from Alexei. Soon, I love this, Alexei was hosting very exclusive and very private wine and cheese parties in his room, not allowing any other men to attend. And this earned him the nickname Sexy Alexei.
Yeah, I actually did that too when I was in college. Except it was drugs and cheese, and I was chunk, not sexy anything.
And no women were allowed either. That was just
They weren't allowed because it was in the rule. If we wanted them there, we would have invited them. We didn't, though. We chose not to have them.
little bit of brie, little bit of coke, little bit of coke. Anyone else
our
want
song?
some? Yeah,
I didn't know our song.
I applied. I didn't get in.
Well, Jewish.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
You can cut that if you want.
Do not cut it.
No, it's
Do not
staying in.
just keep it in.
Staying in.
I prefer it. Okay.
James also didn't feel overly compelled to study while at Princeton, though he did earn all A's in all of his classes, taking 6 or 7 at a time, and he openly mocked and belittled the efforts of those who hadn't already been through college twice before this, saying, "They baby you here at Princeton." He wasn't there, he said, to learn. He was only there to find a wife. His mysterious demeanor and celebrity backstory earned him admission to the ultra-elite eating club, the Ivy Club. In short, this third college experience and second complete self-fabrication was, to this point, going great.
I'm sorry, Tom. There are college eating clubs. The one school sport I would have killed it in didn't even tell me.
Yeah, don't worry. You're Jewish. This was not available to you at Princeton.
Damn. How to go to kosher restaurants if there was a Jew one.
These were all jokes, everybody. I'm doing Eli. We're joshing each other. Satire.
We're actually not that close. I have no idea why he's attacking me.
I'm doing
like
a
this.
persona of somebody who's anti-Semitic, like at Princeton.
Their mascot
Satire.
comes out for the Jewish eating club. He's a big knish and he's like dancing around.
Don't mishboigle my menorah. I'll be the mascot, guys. Just let me have the leftover and everyone, yeah.
Well, things were going great until he was again outed. His downfall coming from the track again. One of the students who had known him from his brief stint at Palo Alto High was now herself a student at Princeton and was watching a track meet when, to her complete shock, she saw James Hogue, who she had known as Jay Huntsman, this time playing the role of
Jay
Sexy
Gatsby.
Alexei Santana, just trotting on by. She immediately called her high school track coach, who called the reporter who broke the story from his fraud at the high school, who in turn called Princeton.
Yeah. This was also the year they purged all those people that lied and really didn't find all that volunteer work in high school moving and rewarding. They purged them all.
Eli cheated on the SATs.
So Princeton was not at all amused. They had been bamboozled and they weren't going to take it lying down. So they had James, aka Alexei, arrested while he was sitting in his geology class. Like, the cops in suits just walked up to him, seriously, in the middle of Geology 316, read him his rights, and herded him out the door.
Hold on. Did they take him to The Rock for jail? Name for Alcatraz is jail. It's a geology class. So is The Rock, right? Cecil.
Dwayne Johnson.
I'm with you, bro. I'm with you. I got you.
He was charged with theft by deception and 3 counts of forgery. James Hogue again admitted everything without compunction or remorse, saying only that he had wanted to start over without the burdens of his past.
Cops are just like, oh, you're just going to confess. Okay, well, I guess we don't need a bad cop then. Hey, Larry, he confessed. You can just come in, bud. You don't have to do the hot coffee thing. He confessed.
One of James's professors from Princeton took pity on James, and he visited him several times while he was in jail. This professor believed that James had made a mistake, but he hadn't really done anything that egregious. He had been at most careless about the consequences of his actions. When James made bail, this professor helped James relocate to Cambridge, Massachusetts, where James took classes at Harvard's Extension School. Eventually, James was given a second chance, earning a job working part-time cataloging the university's collection of precious metals and gems.
Feels like he's going to steal those.
James stole them.
Yeah.
He stole them, along with an expensive microscope and a chair that said Harvard on it.
He's got to stop doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of these items were discovered in Hogue's room, presumably under his bed in a box marked, "Do not look in here."
All right, well, that didn't work out. I guess it's time to get a job cataloging nuclear codes at the Pentagon. It's probably the next thing for me, right?
So once more, James was back in jail, but once again, nothing really happened. He was sentenced to less than a year, some community service. He was ordered to pay restitution. After serving 270 days, James neither paid anyone back, nor did he perform any community service. Instead, he was immediately rearrested for the gem theft, and he served 17 months, after which he was released again and promptly disappeared.
It's just at the doors of the prison. I'm just a man who wants a new life and a clean slate. Just as soon as I steal this slate from Staples.
Now it's 1997. In Aspen, Colorado, James was caught with a stolen high-end bicycle, arrested again. Then he was arrested again in 1998, stealing Rogaine.
What?
He disappeared from public and criminal view until 2006, where he was again arrested. This time, James had been stealing from the mostly unoccupied vacation homes of the wealthy, accumulating over 7,000 stolen items that he had secreted in his home, and further filling a horse trailer and yet another storage locker with just random stolen shit, including among the items, moose antlers, rare wood, copper pans, teddy bears, and red silk high heels.
Yeah, that was for the costume for his next fake identity, though. Natasha Bullwinkle. He was going to join.
I don't think he's aware of the part where you make the profit at the end. You steal things
right.
and then you sell
just
them.
takes
you
it.
don't just have them in a fucking
He
warehouse.
just keeps hoarding his
Everything is his
It's-
precious. It's like fucking crazy.
Needs the muscle memory of pawning something. Then he'd get it.
In 2016, workers spotted an extremely well-concealed shack, and there's pictures of it. It is very, very well-concealed, that had been erected on the roof of mountaintop condos in Aspen, Colorado. Concerned, police approached the shack and knocked on the door. From within came the calm, pleasant voice of James Hogue, who called out, quote, "I'll be there in a minute." Whereupon he jumped out the back window and ran swiftly and confidently into the mountain wilderness. Peering through the window, police noticed an unusual clutter of what appeared to be stolen goods.
Hey, Tom, I don't want to question your language. Why did they appear stolen from the window? Like maybe someone just has a cabin full of shit. How does stuff look stolen through a window?
It all said Harvard and Tesh on the side. It was
That'll do it. That will do it. Asked and answered. Withdrawn.
People probably don't need like 25 of the same car stereo. You know, that's
Yeah.
usually a dead giveaway. A police returned the next day with a warrant to search the shack, only to find that it was not only empty, but that James had swept it clean for them. The shack, expertly built, was insulated, had a window and a heavy-duty door with 2 locks and a 2x4 beam that also held it securely in place. All the materials used to build the shack had been recently reported stolen from local construction sites. The police, they took the shed apart, but they left the materials in place since they were too cumbersome to remove down from the side of the mountain.
He left a note that said, "Catch me if you can," which would be pretty easy because I'm like 55 and a smoker. So you could probably catch me, no problem.
A few weeks later, James was spotted in the same area again, digging a new foundation to rebuild his home just 100 feet from where he had built the previous one. He had again stolen tools and materials from nearby construction sites and was running electrical cords up the mountain from the nearby condo.
Man, see if he was Tom Sawyer instead of Huck Finn, he would have got somebody else to do that work for him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It would have worked.
Now, the police didn't actually arrest him this time, but they confiscated the tools and they told him to beat it. The ski patrol followed him to his car, a Nissan Xterra, which had a ski patrol parking pass hanging from the rear view, despite Hogue most assuredly not being in the ski patrol. Once more, another day, he was spotted by police on the mountain in the same area, building, and was told over loudspeaker to come down and talk. And once more, Hogue ran off into the mountains.
Right, but not before he chugged an entire bottle of French's. So
Now, at some point, and I apologize because this part of the timeline isn't clear from the many articles I read about this guy, but he was again confronted by police at a new home, this time in Ophir, Colorado. When police entered the home, they found sticky notes written in Russian, and badly photoshopped images of James and a striking blonde woman. They found dozens of medical textbooks, and based on an investigation of other items and interviews with those who knew him, it appears that James was working on yet another reinvention. This time, his plan was to go to Russia and get a medical degree, which he believed he could do for $5,000, whereupon he would return to the States, also now with a Russian bride, and come back to pose as a physician. He was finally nabbed by federal marshals in Tucson at a bookstore with $1,200 in cash, a stolen laptop, and CDs of medical instruction on anatomy, clinical consultation, and principles of internal medicine, along with a passport.
Okay, just circling back. Why was he photoshopping himself with a Russian bride if he was going to do, to get the Russian med school degree? He would need to already be with a Russian bride? Or was he just making like a vision board for himself? What was that? He was just really sure he was going to fail at getting a Russian bride in Russia?
I can't find anything past that final arrest, really. And I don't honestly know how this story ends. But something about this story feels so perfectly keeping with our times, I had to tell it. James is no hero, but he is only possible because we want so desperately to believe that a man is not just what he makes of himself, but that he is who he makes of himself. The story of duplicity and reinvention isn't just the story of the man who's doing the lying, but it is the story of those who are only too primed to believe that lie, who make the lies possible in the first place. Perhaps this story is in fact over, but if I were a betting man, I wouldn't bet that James will be done running while he still has breath in his body.
All right. And if you had to summarize what you've learned in one sentence, did you learn something? What would that be?
We're all lying and hoping not to get caught.
Okay.
Yeah, mostly Eli.
Mostly
True story.
Yeah.
Are you ready for the quiz?
Yes, let's do it.
All right, Tom. Based on today's essay, what important lessons that we shouldn't forget have we learned? A, Eli was totally kidding about that SAT thing.
No, you were not.
B, it wasn't an interview. It was just like a casual lunch meeting I had with an existing professor. And then I was able to skip the interview because I'd already met with them. It's not like it wasn't official. It was just a friend
Right. Sure.
of a friend
Friends.
of my
Yes.
mom.
C.
Fraud adjacent.
I talk about clones and having a bomb guy in this show, but nobody in their right mind would take my jokes seriously. D, so you can buy a pre-programmed calculator online that'll do the math part of it for you. You just put them in because it's like a little computer.
For a long time, they didn't know that there was a bunch of memory on those graphing calculators where you could just put anything, the answers to anything.
Including all your formulas for your physics classes, for example.
They let you do that
Yeah.
eventually. They were just like, you can do that if you want. We
Just
know
type
you're
it
doing
in,
that
just
anyway.
hit program.
It's legal now.
It's secret answer E, I've already called the police.
No! You'll never catch me alive!
We'll follow the trail of shit.
And mustard.
Joke's on you, that's just more shit.
All
He's
right.
wounded. There's blood.
Moving on, Tom, I got one for you too.
All right.
Which of the following is the best name for the movie about James Hogue? A, Junior Varsity Blues.
Fantastic.
B, Run, Frat Boy, Run. Or C, The Picture of Dorian Gray Poupon.
So good. C, it's all day C. That's so good.
That is
So
correct.
good. All right, Tom. When James is caught again impersonating a sports personality, what will the name be? A, Tail Sayers. B, Phony Hawk. C, More or Lessie Owens. Or D, Usain Bolt.
Oh,
Fantastic.
it's got to be Usain Bolt, and the spelling in it, guys, is it's spot on. It's spot on.
Yeah.
Fame. But no, I'm sorry, it's More or Lessie Owens. More or Lessie Owens, yeah.
I thought I was going to get it right, but I didn't.
No, you
Instead.
did not. Cecil,
No.
you stumped him. Well done.
So
You were
here's
the
what I
winner.
want. Very specific. I would like Noah to write an essay, but Tom to read it. Very specific.
That is very specific.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
All right. We'll see what we can do. Well, for Tom, Noah, Cecil, and Eli, I'm Heath. Thank you for hanging out with us today. We'll be back next week. And by then, Noah/Tom combo will be an expert on something else. Between now and then, you can hear Tom and Cecil on Cognitive Dissonance. And you can hear Eli, Noah, and myself on God Awful Movies, Scathing Atheist, The Skeptocrat, and D&D-. And if you'd like to get accepted to our online university, we definitely do take bribes. It's super simple. The system is so very simple. You can make a per episode donation at patreon.com/citationpod. That's a bribe. That's what I'm describing when I do that and you bribe us money. And if you'd like to get in touch with us, listen to past episodes, connect with us on social media, or take a look at the show notes, check out citationpod.com. And up, down, wax on, wax off. All right, team, good stuff. Take it easy. Take it easy, everybody. I'm proud of you.
Coach, nobody's here.
Or are they here?
No.
You're not.
No.
Give us a sandwich. Didn't I tell you to get me a sandwich?